All right, fair use, fair use. This is your brother Wild Rummy back with another lesson, Lord, willing and be edifying. I want to start by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashem, Wahab, Rakakwadash, Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahweh Shah. Double honors to the apostles, elders, bishops, great millstone who taught me this truth. Shalom to the 144,000 men of the Lord you see on the highways and byways prophesying in the name and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah. Also in the correct doctrine. I want to send a shalom to the one-third men, women, and children that will escape the judgment of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah by their faith. We got another lesson I'm going to bring out through the spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. It's a little blurry right here, but I'm going to let this video play. But we should know who is Amalek. And it should be no debate on who is Amalek, because Esau and Amalek already knows who's Amalek. I ain't talking about the little Joe Blow six-pack Edomites, but the elite in the upper echelon of the so-called white man, the Edomites. And their chief tribe is Amalek. Starting going all the way back to not the beginning, but the beginning of Babylon the Great.
Christopher Columbus was Jewish, and Columbus was essentially escaping a Spanish expulsion. They were expelling the Jews from Spain. So Spain wasn't Spain for a long time. It was conquered by the Muslims. They had to kick the Muslims out before they could get Spain as we know it today. And when they did that, there was a lot of Jews in the country who thought that they were going to get to stay. But as soon as they kick the Moors out, they kind of switch up a little bit. All right, now the Jews have to go too. And Columbus, not many people know this, he starts his very first journal and diary. He starts it off with either the sentence or it's in the first paragraph. Very first paragraph, maybe the first sentence. On the day that the Jews were expelled from Spain, I departed for the New World.
And Babylon the Great was the New World. And a lot of our people don't know that Christopher Columbus was a small cap. They don't understand that this man is Amalek, who the Lord is going to fight, was, prophesied that he will fight with Amalek from generation to generation. So we see that Amalek is in power now, and their mission was always to rule the world. Now check this out.
Very clear that the Jews want to exterminate the European race. Richard Coudenhove Kalergi, who is the father of the European Union and who was funded by the Jewish bankers Rothschild and Warburg. Now, this man wrote a book called Praktischer Idealismus in 1925, in which he stated that the Jews are a master race and that the Jews can only assume the throne, rule over the world, by weakening the European race, and that the means to weakening the European race would be to dissolve all the European nations, destroy all their cultural heritage and their national traditions, and replace that with the European Union, and then to invite in Africans, Middle Easterners, and Asians to dilute the blood of Europeans through miscegenation to the point where they became a degenerate mixed race. And then at that point, these people would no longer have any sense of nationhood, and the ancient Jewish messianic prophecies of world rule out of Jerusalem, with Jews maintaining their nationhood and their national status, it would fulfill the Jewish messianic prophecies that the Jews could then rule the world, and this was completely in line with what Nikolai had written in 1917, and has manifested itself recently with the invasion of immigrants from Africa, from the Middle East, and from Asia into Europe, America, and Australia. And they are deliberately setting about to genocide the white race and destroy all sense of nationhood and national heritage and national culture in Egypt.
And I'm just touching a little history, but Esau's plan was to rule the world and conquer every nation. And his main enemy was his own people, man, which is these low-level Edomites. This is why Europe doesn't look the way it does, because they've in Babylon the Great as well, and that's why the so-called white man's birth rates have shot down tremendously. You see in these nations that you once thought was so-called white nations are being overran with other nations, man, other people, which is, they call them migrants, which Esau is a migrant. But the point is, these nations have overran the so-called white nations, which none of these nations was meant to be theirs anyway. But this is a part of their plan to take down their own race, to be superior over all the nations, especially Babylon the Great. And now you're seeing Benjamin Nahu coming out saying that they're not going to take any more finances from Babylon the Great, which they have sucked this place dry. And now they're set to join the militaries. And DT was a part of that ritual where he was basically shot in the ear. And the scriptures tell you that if and this is what they go by the ul to remain under their master. And I should have got that scripture, but for the sake of time, I'll just hit these videos. But the point is, DT is the Trojan horse. He was meant to destroy from within. And he's no different than Benjamin Nahu. You got to say that, because he is converted over to be a small head as well. See, these MAGA Edomites, they don't have a clue that they are being led to destruction, that their nation is being swept up from under their feet. And only the men of the Lord understand this. Now check this out. This guy right here knows a little bit about what's going on, man. As you see, Israel plans war on Egypt and Turkey assassinates Iran negotiators. Peace is the real threat to them. And that's plain, man. They are a war-like tribe, man. They are meant to be at war. And this is the Lord blessing Esau with the sword. Now check this out.
They want to go to war against Egypt. They want to go to war against Turkey as part of this Zionist expansion. Hey, we're pulled right along with it, and our country then becomes a target. Our country then becomes vulnerable based on anything Israel chooses to do, because we are partners then. And we have no control over that. We don't have any control over what they'll do. It's like a fantastic thinking that we can bring them into the military and all of a sudden we're going to control them. No, the way you control them is to keep the IDF at bay and try to work out some kind of diplomatic relations, which really aren't working out right now, because otherwise why would you have so many dead people in Palestine and in Lebanon? There's no diplomacy going on. It's basically a license to kill that Israel has.
Paid for by us.
Yeah, absolutely. Netanyahu is basically discounted the authority of the President of the United States. He's done that when President Trump was trying to end this war against Iran that was started at the behest of Netanyahu. And what did he need? One of the things he needed was for Israel to stop attacking South Lebanon. That was one of the conditions that Iran asked for. Didn't happen. And Netanyahu publicly defied the President of the United States, as if he, as head of a nation of 9-10 million people, is superior to a man who's head of a nation of 340 million people. I mean, this is, you have to look at this. This is so weird that that Israel could be actually jeopardizing an agreement that would end a war that has resulted in not just 168 children being killed, and the leader of Iran, whose funeral is still ongoing right now as we speak, but also had a devastating effect on our economy. And that war is going to cost that war is going to cost about $1 trillion. Taxpayers, most of it will go to national debt, which is a whole nother story, because the more debt we're in, the more vulnerable we are, because we've got to make the interest payments, and that means we have less money to take care of things we need right now. America's in a trap right now. We've dug ourselves a hole. And the only difference between a hole and a grave is in the dimensions. And I don't want to have this merger lead America to its own destruction. And we're not in good shape right now. And when the President of the United States can be told by some guy who's just a hustler, who is trying to finagle his way to another election, through another election to survive so he doesn't go to jail. I mean, let's be real about this. Netanyahu's facing jail. And so his policies are aimed at keeping himself out of jail. He didn't care about the United States. He sure didn't care about what President Trump wants. All he cares about is staying out of jail and staying in power if he can. And, so what does that mean? Tax out Lebanon. Forget whatever America wants to do in ending the war in Iran. And everyone's going to pay for it. The people are going to pay for it in South Lebanon with their lives, and people around the world are going to pay for it with damage to the world economy. I mean, lives, I'll put that superior to every other concern. But the fact is, we all know about the knock-on effects of the blocking of the Strait of Hormuz, or Bab el-Mandab, or anything that interferes with the flow of energy is going to cause the price to go up. Americans have experienced that, and we're going to keep experiencing that because the opportunity for peace keeps ebbing away. And we've learned recently that Israel was planning to kill Iran's peace negotiators, right? There's an assassination plot to kill the principal representatives of Iran because, it's not in Israel's interest to have peace. They don't know what peace looks like. They think peace is a threat to their existence.
Now, he said a lot in that video. And like he said, their nation is a small nation. And you have Babylon the Great with millions of people. And they are at the hand of the small caps, man. Like I was saying earlier, the masters that pull the strings behind the curtain is the small caps, man. And DJT is a puppet that they're pulling the strings over Babylon the Great, man. That's why he was set up to be put in office. This is Exodus 21 and verse 6. It says, then his master shall bring him unto the judges. He shall also bring him to the door or unto the doorpost. And his master shall bore his ear through with an awl, and he shall serve him forever. And his masters have bore him through with an awl. And that was the ritual that they performed during the so-called assassination attempt. Now, the war has started back up. And the point of the war is to cripple the nations, to put Amalek in power to rule the world. And this is what they've been planning for many, many years, since the 1700s, man. And that's why the scriptures tell you their heart is deep. They think deep about this. They knew it was going to take many generations to bring forth their plans, man. Now, you see this is a small cap, and he's going to tell you who is Amalek, not knowing that he is Amalek as well. But now, check this out.
You're saying Netanyahu is Amalek.
Netanyahu, I didn't have to say it. This is a fact. In today's day, we cannot point any specific nation to say, this is Amalek, or this is Amalek, or this is Amalek. Amalek today is a concept of the people who uproot people away from God. Now, you don't have to come now to my answer. You have the answer yourself. Who uprooting people away from God in today's day? Not the Palestinians, not Iran. Iran is a God-fearing people. They're serving God. Who uprooting God? The right people who are uprooting God is Netanyahu and or the whole Zionists. They uproot. Today are 18 million Jews. 16 of them, they're secular. They don't believe in God. Whose job is that? This is the job of the Zionists in the last 140 years since they started the movement of Zionism. They uproot people from God constantly.
So you're saying Netanyahu is Amalek?
Netanyahu, I didn't have to say it. This is the fact. Amalek means people who uproot people from God. Especially the Jewish people uproot from God. This is the job of Netanyahu do. And exactly, he is the Amalek. But I didn't have to say it. This is just the fact. I bring out the fact on the table. But I say that in the full mouth. Now, I have no problem to say that. He is the right Amalek. Who gives him the right to say who is Amalek, who's not? Of course, everybody who is his enemy will say he is Amalek. I can say for you. I can say for everybody. I mean, you have to understand what it means, Amalek.
And and he might, he might be Amalek in reincarnation. You know what I'm saying? Who knows? We know Nero is DJT, so who knows? But when he was saying Amalek means dweller in a valley. That's what Amalek means. I was just trying to see if it means anything else. It is basically descendant of Esau. He's a grandson of Esau. So Amalek means a descent. It means dweller in a valley. That's what Amalek means. And like I said, he's saying Benjamin Netanyahu is Amalek. He might be him in a reincarnation. But the Lord said that he would have war with Amalek from generation to generation. And this generation is no different. And the Lord is not going to change his mind because you don't believe it or you don't think that is right or think it is true. This truth is going to go out regardless, man. Let's start here in Exodus 8, 17 and 8. As you see on the title, Amalek fought. It says, then came Amalek and fought against Israel in Rehoboam. Let me get it just to make sure I'm pronouncing it correctly. That's a tongue twister. Rephidim. That's how they pronounce it. Rephidim. It says, and Moses said unto Joshua, choose us out men and go out, fight with Amalek tomorrow, and I will stand on top of the hill with the rod of power in my hand. So Joshua did as Moses had said unto him, and fought with Amalek. And Moses and Aaron and Hur went up to the top of the hill. And it came to pass when Moses held up his hand that Israel prevailed, and when he let down his hand, Amalek prevailed. But Moses' hands were heavy, and they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat thereon. And Aaron and Hur stayed up his hands, the one on one side and the other on one side, and his hands were steady until the going down of the sun. And Joshua discomfited Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword. So the spirit of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua is prevailing against Amalek now by us holding up the banner of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua in the earth. As Moses held up his hands, the Israelites prevailed when he held his hands, but when they let him down, Amalek prevailed. This also goes to show you that this truth has to constantly go out. Well, if we put down our hands and praising the Lord, then our enemy is going to prevail. But when we making lessons and doing the will of the Lord, we're prevailing. And this is all spiritual, man. You can't make somebody get this. The Lord has to be dealing with you. This is Exodus 17:14. It says, and Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua said unto Moses, write this for a memorial in a book, and rehearse it in the ears of Joshua, for I will utterly put out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. So this right here was written a book for him to continue to understand that when you're doing the will of the Lord, you're going to prevail. And that's speaking of now, man, for the men of the Lord. Like I said, doing these lessons, going on the highways and byways, this right here is prevailing against Esau just by a word, man, a rough word. I should got that. That's a fire scripture. But you know what I mean. This word has to continue to go out, man. Because we seeing that the Lord has setting up the last and final war of the history of the earth, man. World War III. Verse 15, it says, and Moses built an altar and called the name of it Yahweh Nisi. For he said, because Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua has sworn that Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. And it's no different than this generation until the Lord comes. Because we know Isaiah 63 saying the Lord is coming to fight against Esau, Edom, which is Amalek, the head tribes of Edom. And seeing Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua has given us his wisdom, knowledge, and understanding at the end of the world, and to understand this is what we're going to enter into, the time of Jacob's trouble, all hell breaking loose, in World War III, where the Lord was going to return in the midst of World War III. And he's going to fight against Amalek. This is Numbers 24, dropping down to verse 18. It says, and Edom shall be a possession, Seir also shall be a possession for the enemy or for his enemies, and Israel shall do valiantly. Out of Jacob shall come he that shall have dominion, and shall destroy him that remaineth of the city. And when he looked on Amalek, he took up this parable and said, Amalek was the first of the nations, but his latter end shall be that he perish forever. That is Esau's lot, man, that he perish forever. Let me get this in the NLT. I'm going to start at verse 19. It says, a ruler shall rise in Jacob who will destroy the survivors of It says, and then Balaam looked over toward the people of Amalek and delivered this message. Amalek was the great of the nations, but in his destiny is destruction. See, his destiny is destruction. And that's what we're telling you through the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Esau is not going to prevail in World War III, man. His destiny is destruction. And that's not going to change. This is prophecy. This is Deuteronomy 25, dropping down to verse 17. It says, remember what Amalek did unto thee by the way when ye were come forth out of Egypt. So in the time when the children of Israel came out of captivity in Egypt, let me continue on. How he met thee by the way and smote the hinder part of thee, even all that were feeble behind thee, when thou was faint and weary, and he feared not power. And see, this is Jacob get all twisted up. Oh man, the white man, he good. I know some good white folks, and I know this is what the Lord said was going to happen to him for what he did to the children of Israel. You can't change the mind of the Lord. This is going to happen to Esau, Edom. Verse 19, it says, therefore it shall be when Yahweh Shem Yahushua thy power have given thee rest from all thy enemies around about in the land which the Yahweh Shem Yahushua thy power giveth thee for an inheritance to possess it, that thou shalt blot out the remembrance of Amalek. See, when we get in the kingdom, after that first 1,000 years, Esau and his head tribe Amalek will be blotted out from under heaven. That's with Obadiah 1:18. It says, thou shalt not forget it. See, this is supposed to be remembered from generation to generation, because the Lord is fighting against Amalek from generation to generation. NLT. It says, therefore, when Yahweh Shem Yahushua your power has given thee rest from all your enemies in the land he is giving you as a special possession, you must destroy the Amalekites and erase their memory from under heaven. Never forget this. And this was going to happen, man. This was never to be forgotten, that Esau was going to be judged. His judgment is to be wiped off the planet. That is his lot. And this is what's going to happen to the Edomites. This is Psalms 49 in verse 11. Their inward parts, their inward thoughts is that their houses shall continue forever. See, Esau has set up plans to start an NWO, to rule over the nations, pollute the air, pollute the food, that make every nation meet, destroy the birth rates, or you won't, be able to have children, destroy the foods, destroy the air, destroy the water, that you will have to lean on him for everything. This is him ruling forever. That's what his plan was. How he was going to conquer the world and he was going to rule forever, and no nation will be able to come against him. Verse 11 again, Psalm 49:11, it says, their inward thoughts is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names. And that's why you have all these names like Christopher Columbus has set up all these nations. It's like all these names in Babylon the Great, man. That's why you have Washington, D.C., the District of Columbia. All these different names that they set up. America itself was named after Americo Vespucci. He was an Edomite, man. America was never named America. America is named after an Edomite, man. Africa is named after an Edomite. These names is nations that is the so-called white man put his name on because he conquered these lands, colonized all these nations. Continuing on, verse 49 and 12, it says, nevertheless, man being in honor abideth not. He is like the beasts that perish. This their way is their folly. See, their way is folly, is foolishness. Yet their posterity approved their sayings. Salah, NLT. The grave is their eternal home. See, the judgment of the Lord is coming upon Esau. And his eternal home is the grave, man. Never to be in power, never to rise to power again. Being under the feet of the Israelites forever. It says, not forever, for 1,000 years, because their judgment is coming very soon, man. It says, where they will stay forever. That's heavy, man. Let me read that one more time. It says, the grave is their eternal home where they will stay forever. They may, it's like, let me slow down. It says, they may name their estates after themselves, but their fame will not last. See, their fame will not last. They will die just like animals. This is the fate of fools. See, this is the fate of fools. And Esau is a fool, man. He believes that he's going to be able to fight against the Lord, man. He says, this is the fate of fools, though they are remembered as being wise, man. So Esau is you can, you know, in this society, Esau is wise, man. He's this, he's that. But anyone that with a common sense will understand that this man is a fool, man. Who would poison the air by spraying the chemtrails in the air the air that he has to breathe? Who would poison the water that he will have to drink? Now they got all these data centers. It's draining all the water, man. Who would make something that you would need and take it away for something else that's man, it's crazy, man. And then not only that though, the electrical grid is, they make electrical cars now that the electrical grid is man, it's so much shit, man. It's so much. But the Lord has them set up as a fool because their plan is not going to work. This is Psalms 2, starting at verse 1. It says, why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves and the rulers take counsel together. See, the kings of the earth is Esau, Edom, man, Amalek. He says, against Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. These plans they're making are against the Lord, man. They want to destroy life. They want to destroy the earth. They want to destroy the animals. They want to destroy everything that is holy, especially the children of Israel, man. It says, and against his anointed, saying, let us break his bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. He that sitteth in heaven shall laugh. Yahweh Shem Yahushua shall have him in derision. See, the Lord is laughing at Esau, man, because he knows that his plans are not going to work. They're not going to be accomplished. This man is being set up to be judged. And the plans of the wicked will not come to pass, man. This is Psalm 64, starting at verse 1. Psalm of David. It says, hear my voice, O power. In my prayer, preserve my life from the fear of the enemy. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity, who whet their tongues like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words, that they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not. They encourage themselves in an evil manner. See, they encourage themselves in an evil manner. They commune to lay snares privily. So their plans is set traps for their own people as well, man. Man, they don't care about these little Joe Blow six-pack Edomites, man. These guys is working at factories or teachers, school teachers. They don't care about them, man. They're ruling over them. It says, who shall see them? They search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search. Both their inward thoughts, see, their inward thoughts, and every one of them, and the heart is deep. See, and every one of them, the heart is deep. See, the inward thoughts is they going to be empowering kings and rule the earth, man. This is why the NWO, the New World Order, they've been talking about since I was in high school. It's not going to be accomplished, man. But they've planned it for many years, man. Since damn near back to the 1700s when Christopher Columbus first came over here. They established Babylon the Great in 1776, but it was way before that. It says inward, the mist, among, inward part, middle, inward part, meaning your mind. It says physical sense, as set of thought or as set of or let me slow down. As seat of thought or emotion, as faculty of thought and emotion. This is what their plans was, man. In the midst, from among of a person of numbers. They ain't no sacrificing animals. But their plan was to rule over the nations, man, rule over the people. It says inward part of human body, physical sense, meaning your mind. That's their plan. Their thought, their mind, their inward thought. And the heart is deep. You're going into that. So let me get back to it. So they had, like I said, they had this plan for many, many years, man. That's why they have deep thought on what they're doing, man. Because DJT is set up to go into World War III, the Battle of Armageddon. The Bible says that Battle of Armageddon. This is what Donald Trump was set up to do, to bring the nations to the Battle of Armageddon. He was set up to bring the nations there. Verse 64 and verse 8, it says, so they shall make their own tongues to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away. And all men shall fear and shall declare the work of power. For they shall wisely consider of his doings. So they're going to know this is the Lord doing, man. It's setting up everyone to come into the valley of Yahweh Shaphat, man. Because the way Donald Trump talks is like no other nation can fight. They have the capability to fight as America does. They don't consider that these other nations have missiles, man, nuclear missiles. He doesn't consider that. He looks at everyone as under them and beneath them. That's the mind of a fool, man. Even the wisest person would think someone would be able to come against him, man. Especially a nation that has a military. And he speaks and talks like no other nation has a military but him. Verse 10, it says, the righteous shall be glad in Yahweh Bashem Yahushua and trust in him. See, and trust in him. And that's what the men of the Lord are doing, man. We're trusting in the Lord. And all the upright in heart shall glory. And that's plain, man. You believe in the Lord, you're considered upright. Because your mind is stayed on the Lord, man. Because any day, all hell can break loose, man. The World War III, the Battle of Armageddon, will crash the economy overnight. You'll wake up one day and your bank account is closed because the dollar crashed. Let me get this in the NLT. This is Job 21 verse 7. It says, Why do the wicked prosper and grow old, powerful? They live to see their children grow and settle down, and they enjoy their grandchildren. Their homes are safe from every fear of power does not punish them. So Esau has been getting away with for many years. So-called white man been getting away with for many years of doing wickedness on the earth, man. And now his time has come. It says their bulls never fail to breed. So they continue to grow, man. Their riches continue to prosper. It says their cows bear calves and never miscarry. So they don't never fail, man. They continue to always prosper, man, in everything they do. They let their children frisk about like lambs, they're safe. They can go in. You ain't got to worry about your children going out, the police and harassing them and killing them. And that's Esau, man. This goes to show you this is his kingdom. He says their little ones skip and dance. See, they don't have any trouble. They got everything they want, man. He says they sing with tamarines and harp. They celebrate to the sound of the flute. They spend their days in prosperity, then go down to the grave in peace. And you see, when they go down to the grave in peace now, they're going to come back in slavery. Those spirits are going to come back into hardcore slavery in the kingdom of heaven. It says, and yet they say to the Most High, go away. We want no part of you and your ways. And that's what Esau does, man. They believe that they're going to overcome the Lord, man. They don't seek after the Lord, man. They don't want no instruction from Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah, because they believe that they are more powerful than the Most High. He says, who is the Almighty, and why should we obey him? What good will it do us to pray? And that's the spirit Esau has, man. That man is not a man of the Lord, man. That's why Christianity doesn't make any sense, man. How are you going to celebrate and worship the same God that your oppressors held over your head and hated you with? Verse 16, it says, they think their prosperity is of their own doing. See, they think that their prosperity is of their own doing. And the Lord set them in power, man. He says, but I will have nothing to do with that kind of thinking. Yet, the light of the wicked never seems to be extinguished. Do they ever have trouble? Do power distribute sorrows to them in anger? And this is what Job is thinking. Like they always doing good, man. Everything they do is good, man. They got the money, they got the house, they got the cars. The elite, they control the earth, they control nations. They can control who eats and who doesn't. They can control if you have your nation is set up with is able to grow and prosper, because if you don't, they can sanction you, man. But this is what Job is thinking, like, damn, man, they got everything, man. The Lord ain't did nothing to them. Verse 18, it says, are they driven before the wind like straw? It says, are they carried away by the storm of the like shaft? He says, not at all. Well, you say, at least power will punish their children, but I say he should punish the ones who sin, so that they understand his judgment. Let them see their destruction with their own eyes. See, let them see their destruction with their own eyes. Let them drink deeply of the anger of the Almighty. And that's what's going to happen, man. They're going to drink deeply of the wrath of the Almighty, because that's what the Lord is coming to do, judge Esau Edom and put him into a servitude under the children of Israel. So Lord willing, was that if I made it there? Shalom. Shalom.